Okay. All right. Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another evening of sketching with me. Hey, Reaper. All right, so everybody who's going to be watching this on YouTube, hi, my name's Ashley. I am a character and creature concept sculptor and designer, whatever. I use ZBrush a whole bunch. Just call me a 3D artist if you want. I don't really know what my title is. I do a lot of different things. So basically, during these sessions, I will take a sphere and I will mash it around into a whole bunch of different shapes and kind of get crazy with it and try and find some sort of a, concept from all of these random shapes that we create. We don't care about all the artifacts that are going to be created because Dynamesh will be there to kind of take those artifacts and create actual geometry from them, and we'll be able to use that as a base to sketch on top of as well. So a lot of this is just exploration, having fun. It's not for production per se. It's not a final model or anything like that. It's sort of a sketchbook session, right? So if you like that kind of thing, you're in the right place. If not, there's a whole lot of other people on this channel that I recommend you check out that have different workflows. Some people are a lot more focused on the actual production side of things as well. Things might be printing, they might be more along the lines of stylized animation, might be more like VFX, creature work, etc. There's like a lot of different things from a lot of different really talented artists on this channel, so definitely check out the other people as well if this is not your thing. But if it is, 4 hours, we're just going to be sketching and having fun and just seeing where it goes, because that's great. The great thing about ZBrush is like you don't have to be super meticulous about things. You can literally be messy and still get away with it. It's great. Hey Danny, what's up? Yeah, it's been a while. How are you doing? Hi Heaven, how are you? Thank you. All right, we're gonna get started. As to hello, random keyboard. Had like a when you're naming yourself, you just went all over the keyboard again. All right, let's go. Let's get this till reset. So when I'm doing these things, I honestly have no idea what it is that I'm going to be doing right off the bat. Sometimes there's some of the streams I kind of have more or less of an idea. But I usually just kind of like let a bunch of shapes dictate where it wants to go, and then we'll go from there. Very kind of like artsy fartsy. I say artsy fartsy a lot. Fartsy is a fun word. So if you have any questions as I am doing things, feel free to ask me. Always looking at chat. Just gonna be kind of like a more chill sketchbook session. So if you have anything to work on too, it's a good opportunity to just have some background noise. So usually when I'm blocking things out in a more structured way, stuff kind of is easier to manage when you start moving around primitive shapes. You start thinking about like what could be like a chest area versus a stomach area versus like a neck. All of these things can be split up into their own parts, because when you're first starting, you want to be thinking more about what your silhouette is. So you don't really want to be like, tied up in any crazy details or anything like that. So I'm just moving around some of these blobbies right here. What am I creating? Yeah, we don't really know. We don't really know until a little bit later on. Usually is something pretty random and weird. as is with normal sketchbook sessions. Just having fun, figuring it out. Working on silhouette mostly. But if this is like a wormy head, like deer or something like that. Worm-headed deer. Hey. What kind of character you're making? Usually when we first start, we don't really know. I'm kind of thinking like this thing right now might actually be like some sort of a worm-headed like deer creature. That's what it's like kind of feeling like right now. I like the idea of long spindly legs. I really like long spindly legs. Long spindly legs are pretty fun to do. Do something like that. We can like really, actually, if we're gonna do something wormy, like wormy headed, let's make this like longer. Like really accentuate the worminess factor. Yeah, like I said, when you're first starting any of your workout, don't jump in with a whole bunch of details because you're just gonna be, you know, shooting yourself in the foot if you do that. I think let's do something like that. And then we can get another cylinder. I like using cylinders as bases for appendages. It's easier to kind of work around and move them around. Hey Ravlin, how are you doing? Yeah. So again, like I said, this is a sketchbook session, so usually I'm not like referencing anything in particular. We're coming up with concepts, we're coming up with ideas, we're having fun, we're just exploring shapes and silhouettes. When you're working in ZBrush as a 3D artist, 3D art doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be always doing something from a 2D concept. Of course, if you want to be a production artist working on a production, then you're going to want to be able to recreate 2D concepts, right? Like you want to be able to interpret what those other angles are going to be from different concepts that you're given. That would be your role in production. However, when you're just playing around as an artist, you don't always have to be doing that. And I actually recommend that you try to have some fun and sketch things out without concepts that have already been made, and just try and play around with that with yourself and just see, you know, what can you come up with. It's a good exercise for your creativity in general. Hi Seji, how are you doing? Hi Josh. Finished off a project the other day. Nice, congrats, dude. It always feels so good after you get a project done. So satisfying. But it's never really done unless you're talking about like a like an actual like job. But if it's like your own, it's never really done, right? It's just sort of that like, you know, I'm just gonna call this quits here. Yeah, always got to move on to the next thing. That's just it. It's like, it's finished, it's not perfect. That's probably one of the harder things to do. Is just like accept that it's not going to be perfect, you know? But next one will always be better and better and better as long as you keep trying to improve it. I'm just kind of looking for some kind of like an interesting shape here with the back leg. I think overall we can do something a little more wishy-washy. We can put in more accurate anatomy afterwards. I'm just kind of trying to get something a little bit interesting. Mirror and weld that. If by any chance you have issues with mirror and weld, like it's not doing it on the right side, like for example right here, like it disappears like that, all you need to do is just mirror it and then mirror and weld because it's going on the opposite, the negative rather than the positive or vice versa. Do I have any experience with Rhizome UV? No, I have not actually used Rhizome UV. I've heard good things about it. What's up, Bubbles? Hey, Mohammed, how are you doing? What do I suggest for beginners for stylized characters? So when you're doing stylized stuff, actually the method that I'm using right now, blocking with primitives and thinking about shapes specifically, is very good for you. And if you want somebody who talks about this thoroughly, Shane Olson will be your guy. So what he does is essentially this in a very simplified way. He will work usually on his streams with 2D concepts, and then he will kind of like walk through that process. It's a different concept almost every stream. Sometimes he carries it on for you know, 2 streams or 3 streams per concept, but it's essentially the same thing. So like when you are really starting out with a stylized character, you don't want to be getting in there with all like the super details or super high res. I recommend working at a lower resolution for as long as you can to try and get the shape of everything. The shape for stylized is what drives the art. Like the well, I mean, there's multiple different art forms, art styles of stylization. Stylization doesn't just mean like Blizzard or Disney, right? Like it's many different types of things. As long as it's not hyper real, then it's stylized in some way, right? So when you're saying stylized, I'm assuming you're talking about more cartoony things like Disney characters, in which case, yes, you want to be focusing very strictly on low res and getting those shapes correct early on and not bogging yourself down with like a lot of resolution, because then you start getting lumpies, right? Like for example, if I were to grab this sphere here, chunk it up a whole bunch, and then start like moving things around, like, oh, here is my face, you know what I mean? Like you start getting like these wobblies, and it doesn't feel like as nice if you're gonna start like working on this and then smoothing it out, right? Like that looks all wobbly and stuff, and no matter how much you want to like smooth on top of it over and over and over and over and over, like like it's still wobbly, right? So you're gonna want to work at a lower resolution for as long as possible to try and get that overall shape with a bigger brush to get forms looking. Wait, hold on. Where's my symmetry? Hello. Okay. To get the forms that you want overall, even if you were to start blocking out, like let's say where the eyes were in contrast to maybe like the forehead of things, you can still smooth things out so you get like a divot, right? And then you can keep pushing things around. Obviously this is not very, very good, but you can push things around and smooth them out and it will still be smoother. Whereas if you were to start working on this and everything is high res, then you would have a lot of problems and it would take a really long time to get rid of all the divots and bubbly wobblies. And I use project primitive in this video. Project primitive. I mean, I don't really use that, so if you're curious about specific tools, you can go onto ZBrush. Here, hold on. Let me get it for you. Here we go. The Classroom will have all the stuff that you need if you're curious about very specific tips of any kind. Do you have the curse for beginners to advance? Wait, do you have any curse for beginners to advance project complete modeling? Any curse? What do you mean by curse? Advanced project complete modeling and texture and render. Oh, course! You meant course. Okay, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to curse you guys not being able to finish your projects? I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. So I don't have any courses myself. I don't have any courses myself, but when it comes to beginner to advanced stuff, I know that Pablo sells courses. You could check out his if you're really curious. He does a lot of really good step-by-step stuff. But I do have a video on my my Twitch right here, and it kind of like does like a whole beginning to keyshot thing. It's just a regular weird stream, right, where I'm just talking about literally like whatever, but you can see, if you're curious, the workflow that I use personally to get to keyshot, which is very messy in comparison to a lot of things. Like I like to just like work really fast and dirty, so I don't usually do things super methodically unless it's for production. Hey Dukes, super busy with work. You just invested in a new PC. Congrats on the new PC. That's exciting. That's super exciting. Hope it didn't totally break the bank or anything. Figure out what I want to do with this. Okay. Do knife curve. Cute. Just like cut things for silhouette purposes. Just don't. Here, let's get some AccuCurve in here so we can start getting like those sharp features. Okay. In there. Oops. This one I'm going to push forward. I'm going to push these ones forward as well so that we can get maybe more of an angle. I really like pushing like almost like unnatural curves at the backs. I really like pushing that kind of stuff just for the sake of silhouette. This one should come up. Could do something a little less natural in here. Pull these ones forward too and down. Spindle, spindle, spindle. All right, I'm gonna make this neck larger, I think. Wait, push that forward. Do I have reference? No, no reference right now. We're just sketching, just seeing, you know, what this thing is gonna turn into. You can't stay for much longer? That's all good. If you gotta go, it's all good. There's always a VOD if you want to catch and see what the heck it turned into afterwards. It's all good. Hey, mate. Hey, sorry, I almost called you Megan. I'm sorry. Hi, Emily. How are you doing? How's it going? Do I often use Dynamesh or do I prefer Z-remeshing? I use Dynamesh. I use and abuse Dynamesh. Z-remesh I leave for the later stages, unless it's something very specific that I need very clean early on. Most of the time, when I'm figuring things out, I will be Dynameshing after this initial primitive stage. And I will usually keep it low enough that I can still work on silhouette if I need to. If I don't need to keep working on silhouette, then I'll chunk up the resolution. And once all of my details are in there, say not for like things as small as alphas and things like that, like all the alpha stuff that I need to do, anything like skin pores, etc., will be done after a Z-remesh and a reprojection of the Dynamesh that I had done, so that I can get a cleaner placement of alphas and details. You always feel bad for just talking? Oh, don't feel bad, dude. If you have to come and go, like, whatever, it's all good. Like, we're just chilling. We're just, you don't have to feel bad for stopping by or not stopping by. It's chill. Your savings are empty, dude. Yeah, it is worth it, but it just sucks how expensive everything is right now. Congrats on the PC, though. That's pretty cool. I cursed him. No, stop it. I didn't curse anyone. I just misread it. I'm sorry. That's my own stupid. Let me see. I'm gonna give this one just a little bit more geometry so I can. And I'll put that there. Like, I want this to be weird. We'd really like work with it kind of like this. Nice and odd. Back part. This is not feeling right. This like concaveness, I'm not feeling that. We could actually, I'm gonna smooth this out and try again. And give it more thick back here so it doesn't look so without a skeleton. And this, that. I don't like this, like, chest part. Yeah, not feeling this. Not really feeling this. Maybe this part. Let's curve that more. Okay, I also, okay, this chest, definitely gonna make it smaller. I want this to be very, like, I think heavy on the front part, like with the wormness of it. Kind of slender here, thicker like this. Have it hang down. The worminess of it. All right, let's see. Do I have a timeline every time you do design exercises, and how long does it take you to from start to finish? So when I'm doing design exercises, like if I'm just wanting to sit down and sketch, I'll just sit down and sketch. I am not personally somebody who works very, like, you know, for my own personal things. I'm not talking about production's different. You have to be on a schedule, but for my own personal things, I'm not very, like, schedule oriented. If I feel like doing it, I'll do it. If I don't feel like doing it, I'll do something else. So when it comes down to design exercises for myself, I'll just do it however long it is. If I get engrossed in it, if I get sucked into it, I'll just kind of keep going. And if not, then I'll just, like, throw it away and start something new. So I guess, like, it really just depends on the type of person you are. If you're more like, I need things to be drill exercises, personally, I think that that's not fun. I don't like the drill sergeant approach to learning artwork. That's never been my go-to. It hasn't been good for me to learn things. It's kind of just, like, worn me out on wanting to do art. You know, thinking that I need to do, like, this many exercises or whatever. Even when it came to life drawing, I was like that as well. When it came to life drawing class, you know, just sitting there and being like, okay, you have to do this many 30 seconds, this many 1 minutes or whatever. I get that it, like, trains your hand, but I just could not stay focused on it. It was really, like, to me, I struggled finding the fun in drill exercises. So if you are also like that, then I would recommend trying to break things apart. For example, when you're, you know, wanting to get better at, maybe you're, like, thinking, like, I want to be better at sculpting skulls. Think about, like, different ways that you could approach sculpting skulls. Like, maybe you want to make one that's more of, like, a pirate type, and one that's more of like a draconic skull or something like that, because you can have your references up and learn about that at the same time. And so if you work a little bit better that way and it keeps you interested and excited and having fun with your exercises, that's the most important thing, rather than, like, a specific time limit for specific things. Because again, speed is going to be a thing that comes to you naturally, you know, by doing a lot of just sculpting in general, a lot of drawing in general. Speed will just come naturally. You can work to become faster, but that's where I find, personally, that's where I find the burnout comes in, and it's not fun. My big mantra with artwork, and some people will fight me on this, right? But I'm a lot more, like, I don't really care if you want to fight me on it, because this is the way that I like to do things with artwork. Art needs to be fun. If you're getting into this and it's not fun for you, you're doing it wrong. I don't care. Like, it shouldn't be a grind. Like, you shouldn't feel, like, resentment towards the artwork that you're doing. It has to be fun. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that disagree. They say, no, you got to do your drills. You got to do it like, you know, and you have to find a fun way to do these things. If you're not enjoying it, you're not gonna be doing this a long time. So it's a personal thing. Again, if this doesn't click with you, if it doesn't resonate with you, there's lots of other artists that have different opinions and different ways of approaching this. There's not any right way of doing it, okay? So that's out there. Let's see. Do I just bang these designs out from your head, or do you have to study creatures beforehand to give yourself an idea? Both. So when I'm on these streams, yeah, I'm just kind of like brain vomiting into ZBrush, which is a lot of fun. Honestly, these streams give me an opportunity to just be like, whatever, you know, like if I'm not working, which is pretty fun. But if I'm doing something for work in particular, like if they mention something very particular to me, like it has to be more bird-like or whatever, then of course, like I will do specific studies to get a better idea of something that might be giving me troubles. Like let's say for whatever reason I had a hard time understanding how a crow's foot articulated, then I would do a couple of quick, like really dirty sketches, things that would never see the light of day, things that like I don't even care if it's super accurate. It would just be like, you know, just trying to like figure out exactly like, you know, how the base structure of it works so that I can then go and start designing something new. So when I do studies, it's not like these beautiful things that I'm gonna post on ArtStation. In fact, they're really disgusting, and a lot of the time you can't really see what is going on. It's more of like something just to scribble out for my own brain to kind of like figure it out, right? You know, like how you have a journal and you might just like, you know, start writing down a non-stop sentence just to get things out of your head. It's the same thing. Somebody would read that, this is like nonsensical, but for you, it helps you process something. So, you know, if you can just get your pen on the paper and just let it out, and just like, as you're looking at something, just try and figure out, and no matter how messy it is, it's working your brain and you're still analyzing, right? So that's also important. Like, your sketches are gonna be disgusting, and that's totally fine, as long as you're learning from them. When I'm working dirty low to make my shapes, how do you clean it or smooth it without losing the shape? So I you know, when I'm doing stuff like this, a lot of the time I'll just like do like big strokes like that, right? So like a big like rough stroke, you're gonna get the hang of like how to do things fast, how much your smooth brush is actually working. Again, I have this as like a second nature now because of how much I use ZBrush, right? But if you were to put in a ton of hours, you would start to understand that as well. If you're having issues with like, you know, smoothing, maybe it's because you're a little too heavy-handed, right? So if I were to go here and then put full pressure and start, it's gonna disappear. But if I were to just do a quick, like, you know, a light little thing over top, a little tap, it kind of maintains a lot of what you're doing. Another thing too is, so this doesn't really work for me because of how dirty I am with my low res stuff. And I actually don't use smoothing that much when I'm doing low res things unless I'm erasing what I did. So smoothing to me at a super low res is erasing. So if I wanted to erase stuff, I would actually smooth over. But otherwise, I keep a lot of this like this nasty stuff for the Dynamesh specifically. If you wanted things to be cleaner though, if you hold down on this and then release shift and then keep going, it has an alternative smoothing function. As you can see, that's a lot different than if you were to keep holding smooth. You can see it's trying to maintain a volume there. So that's something that you could play around with as well. Maybe it'll help you, but it's like the alternative smoothing function. So you, again, how to do that is you hold shift, click down, release shift, and then smooth. All right. Yeah, my sketches look just totally disgusting. sometimes I even take sticky notes, right? And I just like, and it looks like garbage barf on a sticky note, but I'm figuring something out with that, so that's all that matters to me. Been working on this piece for 2 months. It gets frustrating. You just want to finish it after a certain point. It's my first sculpt that will be published. Main frustration, the thought I need this done so I can start marketing sculpt sales and start to make money. That's the thought that runs through my work, the piece itself, and I try to find. Yeah, so that is very frustrating. When art becomes your job, it becomes sort of like this, you got to find a balancing act. And if you're solely relying on it right off the bat and you're doing that whole like hustle and grind, but as like an artist, it can really wear you out, because as much as like, you know, a lot of people will want to disagree, artistry and money they're kind of like oil and water if you really think about it. Like creativity and money, it's like making them work together it's very particular. You need to have a very, very good way of balancing that, because money and everything to do with money, it sucks creativity out of things, because it's so far from that. It's about productivity rather than actually exploring. And, you know, I sound so artsy. I sound like, you know, one of those art teachers that you'd get in in high school that's just like smearing their lipstick on your canvas and being like, there, that's better, you know? But in a way, it's true, right? Like, if you are very, like, emotional as well as an artist. I'm a very emotional artist, so that actually means something to me. And so I can't, you know, like this idea of you know, money and creativity working together, it requires a lot of balance, especially when you want to create your own things as well. It can create a lot of frustration. Yeah. Eyeball, perhaps? Eyeball? Perhaps? Wait, what? What's going on? Oh, okay, we've got an incel, gotcha. Alright. Sick. How do you make sure you're not underpaid? The best way, so if you're talking about, there's two ways to look at this. You end up having some, you know, if you're freelance, right, you're working for yourself, there's a specific way to deal with that based on like hourly. So if you're working, you know, 8 hours a day, and you know you're trying to figure out, like, let's say your client comes to you and they want a piece done in a month, and they're asking you to quote them on what that piece is going to be. If you're going to be working on it for a certain amount of time, you're going to want to try and figure out what that hourly is like. You don't want to ever be in a situation where you take on work and you end up having to work at like an hourly unintentionally. That's like $5 an hour because you're being micromanaged or whatever you have, or maybe you underquoted your hours, overquoted your hours, etc. Right? So You just want to make sure that you're figuring out what your hourly is, and that hourly has to take into account the taxes that you're going to have to pay, as well as like your living expenses too. Of course, you don't want to front load your clients with all of your expenses. That's just wrong. But you take into consideration, okay, how many clients am I getting per year? What kind of, you know, break am I going to be taking in between clients, etc. And you can start to figure out what kind of a rate you are going to be charging. Depending on where you live, that's going to be different as well. So it's a little bit hard for me to give you an exact rate. Here in Canada, a lot of people, like I try to recommend people don't start anything, bare minimum of 40 an hour. I would say even if you're just starting 50 an hour, if you're freelance, I would recommend that. And then you can start working your way up as you start getting more clients and you start figuring out, you know, what you can charge, etc. And then if you're working in studio, you want to think about, okay, well, if you're going to be a junior, there's a lot of information starting to circulate about who's paying what in like the games industry versus the animation industry versus the VFX industry. I think Twitter has a couple of hashtags of people like actually revealing what their salaries are. So you could always like try to figure that out. I don't know. I don't have it saved, but I've seen a chart going around with average salaries of people in the industry so far. So that's another thing that you might want to try and dig for. Yo, what's up, Toby? How are you doing? Okay. A little live silhouette. Yeah, so this is in preferences. If you go to your thumbnail, you can actually put that in the corner there. It's very, very useful. If you make the background black, that means it's going to be transparent. And then honestly, if you make it any color, it will change the opposite of the color that you choose as the silhouette. So it'll always be opposite. But black creates a negative. Hey, RB. Hands for hooves? We don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. A mask? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. You're planning to move to Canada and work on your career. What would you, would I adopt you for a month? There's no room in my place for you, dude. There's zero room here. I can't adopt anybody. I can barely take care of myself, let alone I have to take care of Monty. I'm being nobody's mom. That's just weird. You'll be okay though. Though I do have to say, finding a place in Canada these last few days actually pretty rough. Pretty rough. So housing market is kind of insane here. All right, what do I want to do? I'm a little bit like thrown around backwards right now. I think grab that, make it straight up. Okay, Dynamesh this. Be a little bit high res, huh? Dynamesh. Here we go. Alright, so we can, let's see, I was thinking of hooves. Somebody said hands. Somebody said, who is it? Indy. Indy said hands instead of hooves. Maybe we'll start with hooves. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right. And maybe the hands will come out again. Oops. Okay, and then I'll give that a little bit more res. Whoops. Oops. Gotta get rid of your subdivision levels. So, and actually, like, I want to increase the size of all of this. The hooves a little bit longer. Then we can do a little bit of a Dynamesh over here. Fingies! Maybe. Fingies maybe might have a way to implement the fingies. Its rump. I want to like overlap some skin. It's always a good time when you start overlapping skin flaps. All right, let's make this worm thing a little chunkier here. I like it having like the thin front angle. It's pretty good. Shader, yeah. Why not spider legs? Maybe it could have many hooves. Many hooves, actually. Maybe. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's gonna. I'm thinking about putting like a giant eyeball thing there. And somebody else was just like a mask, which is also kind of a cool idea. I might put a mask there. So if we're gonna do an eyeball though, you know what? Let me save this real quick so that I don't randomly explode ZBrush and lose all my work. That's a thing that I do a lot. All right. Okay. An Oni mask for this guy. Man, I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe an like something in, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. If anything, I think maybe like some kind of like horns or something, like growing like outside. Oh my gosh. This is going to be a unicorn. A unicorn. Yep. It's gonna be a unicorn. I haven't. Yep. Yep. But the idea of it, right? So if I do this, let's go down here, delete, and then do a bend arc. Right. Right. Huh? Unicorn. But it's coming out. It's coming out of here. a unicorn. I'm the mask and eye and lips. Okay, Rod. Fair. You are the idea, man. There we go. Unicorn. Fingernail head. Yeah. Fingies. There we go. It's just a big finger. Everything that I do has the potential to be seen as something else. It's all good. Maybe it's meant to be. Okay. If we're gonna do this, all right, I'm gonna do something like really gross as like the eyeball though. So we'll subdivide it a bunch, and then, because this can be like a creature like eye, do we want to have more of like a goat type thing? Might be kind of interesting. But when I do a goat type thing, how am I gonna lens that then? I'm gonna lens. So if I were to render this, you're gonna have to, so when it comes to like an eyeball, right? Like the lens over top of your eyeball is not completely straight. Like it's not completely like just a sphere. It actually comes out as like a little lump, which creates the refraction in your eye. So when you turn to like your side view, right? The light refracting from your eye lens will bounce back and out and create this sort of image of the inside part of your eye, like your iris, being reflected outwards. So it looks like that inside part of your eye is actually on the outside when you're sideways. That's because the lens is kind of, it's got like this bulbous thing. You can actually close your eyes and touch them. I know that might be weird, like just touch your eyes like over top of your eyelids and you can feel the little like push out. That's your lens. Don't push in your eyes, but you can like, yeah, you can feel that. So that's sort of like goat eyes. I'm wondering like what their lenses look like. I haven't done like goat eyes like that before. I'm kind of thinking like maybe no, I have a better idea. This can be like really gross. So do that. Wait, no. Hold on. Gotta think. Alpha. Do this. Drag. And then uh-oh, can we see something scary? Uh-oh, let me just well, No, bad. Let me redo this. No, 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 no. No. Okay. That's not for me. Let's try getting this gone right here. I'll just do it by hand. It's fine. Okay. Get all of these things here. Now I'm gonna go over with a drag. Let's do it straight like this. Over top of everything at let's do last mesh modifier. Nah. Where in shoot, I can't remember where I put it. Ah, that'll be fine. Whatever. Alright, so this, we can change this to RGB intensity down, and then we can also turn the focal shift up, down, so that we can get an overall in here. And so all of this will have a sort of masking to it, so it'll go down and in as well, but not at the same rate. That's what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be nice and messy and disgusting. Okay, good. Now let me fix that, turn that back up to max, and turn that back up to 0. Okay, turn that around, and back down, in. Okay. Then, if I were to go ahead and grab another sphere, this is something, I'm being a little bit experimental right now with the type of eye. I want to see what this actually might look like in Keyshot. So I'll show you in a second. I want to make sure that this fits over top, so you can actually turn your transparency on just to make sure that this is sitting over top of the eyeball as a lens, perfectly spherical top. Can make that come a little bit closer down. Go. You don't want any of the actual eyeball showing through though. And then so right here we can see where our lens is. You can do a quick, without the alpha and the drag, rather. Okay, you can do that. One of these, one of these, one of these. It's okay if it's a little messy for this purpose anyways. And then you can just kind of rather take the thing like this and pull a little bit. Maybe push it in a bit more. Maybe make it a little bit more of like a softer fall off rather. That. Okay. And turn off transparent. Turn everything back on. Now I'm kind of curious. Let me save this real quick. Yep. Yeah, the silhouette. Best horror game? Dead Space. Dead Space, 100%. But I don't know, does Elden Ring count as a horror? Yeah, it does, right? Like, it's horror-esque. I'm really liking Elden Ring. I'm so obsessed with Elden Ring right now. You ask if you remember what it called and how it was done. The thing where you model a piece in the center, but you could transfer it to a part you need. Still work on the central one, passing the details to the transfer part. Not. Oh, yeah. That's Stager. You can find Stager. Geometry and Stager right here. So if you click on your geometry tab and you scroll down, Stager is right here. And once you create a home stage, that's your center stage, your original stage, your main stage, the beginning of all beginnings and creation itself. And then you move your piece to a new location, let's say on the arm, then that is your target stage. That's how you do it. And then you can switch stages with the switch stage back and forth. Does Stager work with deformation? Like if it's a character that's posed or anything? With deformation. So it'll work with a whole range of things. There is a workflow to work around by using it with Transpose Master. There is a workaround. I'm not super good at it. It requires a little bit of like management of your subtools, but yeah, you can pretty much use it with anything because all it's doing is it's kind of like just a different way of using a morph target. So anything that you can do with morph targets, you can do with like Stager, pretty much. Liminal spaces are really cool. Yeah, it's like where people are, you know, where people normally would be, but they're not, and so then it feels weird to see it like that. All right, I'm gonna send this over to Keyshot just to see how the, actually first, let me just do something so that we can get a better idea here. Let me just do a quick, because I'll actually like do more on this if this works. I'm doing something a little experimental. So we want to do auto masking. Hello, masking, there you are. Okay, mask by cavity. Let's do cavity profile a little bit. No, that's not, that's like the most extreme. Oh my goodness. I'm pressing everything right now. Let me try this again. It doesn't want to. Okay. I'll just do it by hand. I'll actually grossify all of this afterwards. I just want to see if it'll work the way I'm thinking that it'll work. And if it won't, then I'll try something else. Okay, blur that. That. Okay. So let's go throw this stuff real quick over to Keyshot. Oh, this won't be like a rendering stream. This will be more of just like checking things. So I'll show you like an overall like how I check things in Keyshot real quick. Let's do my Keyshot screen. There it is. Okay. All right. So usually when I throw it over, the actual sculpt is really big in the environment, so you can just like increase the size of the environment a whole bunch more. You know, if you're doing something more physically accurate, you're going to be a little bit more accurate with this stuff, but I don't really care. And then just so that we can kind of figure out if this is going to work or not. Need some caustics here. Go over to glass. Shader works as a that. Yeah, see? So the refraction works with a lens like that. It actually works really well. So that's sort of like what I'm trying to accomplish with a lens like that. But you see that the actual geometry underneath, like if you were to take the lens off of this, like it's straight. But because the refraction is at work, pushes that out because the light is bouncing from the back, and it kind of like bounces on this cone and creates this outwards pushing thing. Outwards pushing eyeball looking thing. So we can actually play around with that nastiness in there. You can kind of create any kind of eyeball you want based on that idea as well. So that's pretty cool. So we can do something like that. And then if I were to go back and forth from Keyshot to ZBrush, right? Wait, let's see, where's my chat? I don't have my chat up. Hey Masta, how you doing? Yeah, so if I were to go back and forth from ZBrush to Keyshot, I would just kind of create a camera here and just like call it like whatever, like test one or something like that. Like, and then I would like have it saved, like always like have that one saved. And then if I wanted to try a new angle, I would create a new one from there and then keep going, right? And so then I could always like come back to my other thing. So you can always play around with like, if this is like a really big creature and you're kind of like thinking about, you know, you're like far away with a telescope lens, like you're National Geographic photographer or something like that, but there's like kaijus in the background, you're gonna do something like a 200 or 300 millimeter lens, right? It'll actually give it like this feeling you know, of like you're zooming really far in to something that is massive. Whereas if you're doing something more macro, you could work with like, I mean, like you can work with like things like 150 millimeter lenses and things like that, but you'd have to kind of like play around with it. These sorts of things will really like distort your depth of field as well, depending on what you're like focal length is. Sorry, oh my god. Sometimes it's hard for me to get the words out. F-stop is basically like how close to the camera your focal distance is going to be. So this one, because of how big everything is, it's completely like off scale, so you're gonna just have to kind of play around with that. Sometimes when you come in from ZBrush, you can kind of create some neat effects of just getting like things right up in there. Wait, let's see, let's try and get just that. Give it maybe point like 1, right? So you can play around with sort of like macro ideas as well. And then usually though, for something like this, I wouldn't be playing around with depth of field right away. I would try to get like a interesting angle, would play around with like the image size. So this one would probably, I mean, this is very like cinematic aspect right now for some of the illustration work that I've been doing for work, but yeah. And then you go over to your environments, you can like drag and drop whatever you want. Like, look, here's Pixelogic, it's like at Gnomon, just chilling in Gnomon, you know? But I don't ever use like the actual HDRI as a backplate. A lot of the time I will just kind of like throw down a regular image, throw down some ground reflections if I'm just leaving it pretty like regular, and then I'll kind of come back and forth from ZBrush to Keyshot just to kind of check how things are working. And again, depending on what background you're using, remember if you're using like an HDRI, you can see it reflected in the eyeball and things like that. So if you don't want like this harsh reflection and you can see exactly like, hey, this is like a studio in the eyeball of this thing or whatever, then all you need to do is go over to your environment, HDRI, and you can actually blur it a whole bunch so you can't you can't really like tell exactly what it is in the background. That can be very helpful as well, but then you're not going to get very like sharp shadows or anything like that. However, you can always add add a light, like, I don't know, like a spotlight, for example. I love working with spotlights personally. Move that. Boop, 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 boop. Right? So, okay. Open up that beam angle, fall off a little bit more, and then we want that inner diameter. Okay, and then we can just kind of like blast it. And if it's too much, then you can always like bring it back down. You also want to change the default ZBrush material. We can go with something more like, I don't know, there's like, I have like these ZBrush like clay things. Always just use that. Just shove it on there just for like an idea, because it renders nicer than the default materials from ZBrush. Yeah, and so if you don't want if you want something more dramatic too, then you can always like lower the brightness of your HDRI and start working more of that like as like a fill light, an environmental fill light, whereas everything else is just kind of like the actual light itself. So you can actually like start, the idea of lighting your characters is you're thinking about like painting them, but you're painting them with light, right? That's the whole idea. It's just like you want to be thinking about how do you paint with light. The alien gets tickled when I move my mouse over it. Oh, you mean like as it goes? Yeah, because it's rendering real time, right? Like that's the whole thing. Oh, I just realized this is only showing like a portion of the of Keyshot. It's not showing like the whole bottom part. I guess it's fine. You can kind of see what I'm doing. GPU would you recommend for a character animation? Honestly, anything that you can afford. That's the big one. I'm using a 2070 and I'm getting by just fine. If you're really hardcore though, you're gonna start wanting to use the 3090s. But if all you can do is get your hand on one of the 2000 series, then there's nothing wrong with that. I'm using it just fine. So yeah, so that's basically like the average workflow, but that was sort of what I was trying to test, is to just make sure that all of this was going to work kind of interesting. So if you wanted to like throw it back and forth, let's say I want this as like my test right here for whatever reason, I'll just create a camera, save it, and then I'll just have this paused in the background so it's not really using any of my computer, and then I'll just jump back over to ZBrush, right? And now that I'm back over to ZBrush, anytime that I want to go back to Keyshot, I would just hit render and it'll send all of the same stuff back over to Keyshot. Yeah, this is the Theo. Okay. Junji Ito? Yeah. I did a piece a while ago that I didn't finish. And Jackal in my Discord told me about that, and I was like, oh my god, that really does look like something that would have been based on his work, because I had no idea who that was until she mentioned it, and his work is really cool. It's wild. I'm gonna do this with an inflate. No, I'm not. No, I lied. I'm gonna do this way. Get rid of that. I'm gonna keep doing it this way. Fine. What did I make? It was, shoot, I don't know if I can... I'll try to find it. Yeah, this is just a for funsy sketch. Let me see. Let me load up. Okay, that's it, yeah. Let me see. Oh, this is not my personal playlist. No, this is Pretzel Rocks. Here. It's like royalty-free music. Where you at, lady? There. This is what I was here. I gotta like kind of frig, man. Let me just like quickly censor this so we don't get in trouble, because there's rude all over Twitch. Ooh, you. No. No, don't ban me. Don't ban me for the titties. There we go. All right, so this is this is what I was making. That was like I didn't realize who Junji Ito was, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I was just like playing with like really like stretched out anatomy and stuff. This one is called Basilisk. I'm trying to get like a snake, like playing with figure and form to create like a snake like shape. You can kind of see it right here, like flowing. Yeah. Anyways. My laugh cherry. It's changing my brush. How do you manage the lights? Do you have any rules or canons that you follow in your course? The thing about shape is so cool. Put a light at that point came out. I find it interesting how to know you manage the lights for renderings. So again, like I said, like you're painting with light. So you think, where do you want your eye to look? Where do you want people to look? That's what you want to try and focus on. You can use different color lights, different, like, is it warm? Is it cool? What kind of a feeling do you want to evoke with the light? So if there's something that I want to accentuate, I will try to put some sort of a light there to either create some sort of a rim effect on something to accentuate maybe the silhouette, or I will create a spotlight to really bring out like the fill of a certain aspect of the sculpt so that it stands out from the background or something like that. I think one of my favorite things to render out and then do paint overs on top of, like using it as like a base to like for the illustration and biz dev and things, is anything like reflective, like you know, eyes and metals and things like that. I love painting anything super shiny after the fact. It's a lot of fun. Your PC doesn't. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Hi B, how are you doing? Thank you so much. How's it going? This guy could poke his own eye out. Nah, he'll be good. He'll be good. But it's that whole fear, right? Like when you're doing something like a little bit more horror and creepy, you gotta think like, okay, what exactly is it about this particular element that is scary? For this, for example, what is going on in my subconscious is, okay, if we're doing a big eyeball, what's really scary? Big pointy thing, because you don't want to poke your eyeball out. Oh, okay, wait, holes inside the eyeball already? Also very scary, because pointy thing, eyeball, poking eyeball, right? So that's kind of what's going on, and everything is like playing into that same fear. And that's sort of like how you kind of work around horror aspects, is you want to find that core idea and then play on it. That's what makes like something strong horror-wise. It's not just like gory for the sake of being gory, right? You have a reason and a rhyme to your design choices when you're designing something that's supposed to be scary in a particular way. Hi Sumeka, how are you doing? Okay. Project Hail Mary. Have I read Project Hail Mary? No, I have not. What's that? What's it gonna do? Oh yeah? Okay, I'll keep Hail Mary in mind. I'm still trying to get through... What's it called? So bad at names. There's another sci-fi epic that I'm reading right now, and it's taking me a really long time because I'm like, I have a hard time reading. Like, I jump to the end of a page and I'm like, wait, hold on, I gotta remember what did I just read, and then I'll go back to the beginning of the page, and then I'll jump to the end of the page again. It'll be like, stop doing that, and I'll have to... Sorry, yeah. But it's good. It's good. It's just like, I get so annoyed at myself. I'm like, okay, just read in order. Just read in order. It's not that hard. Discouraged? No, don't be. All I've done is just a bunch of holes. You can make holes too. Holes are not something to be discouraged about. Look, I'll show you really quick. Ready? Watch this. Watch this. You want to make a hole? Take your inflate brush, right? Here, do it on this. Take your inflate brush. Ooh, where did this happen? Oh well. And then you just go like that. And then you make your brush smaller, and then you go inverted hole. Disgusting hole very quickly. No discouragement. I'm actually gonna do... Yeah, I'm gonna do some... Holes are incredibly inspiring. Don't we? We all love a good hole. We all love a good hole. Multiple holes, even better. We love some good holes. Good hole makes the world go round, you know what I mean? Holes are as deep as you want them to be, man. Holes are as deep and undefined as you want them to be. Cue Vsauce music. What is a hole? He did a whole episode on holes and what a hole is. What defines a hole? How many holes does the human body have? Delicious. Why not? You don't like holes? Is me saying hole bothering you? You want to discuss why? Could you, in a matter of 2 sentences, tell me why the word hole is bothering you? Please relate it as much as possible to your upbringing so that we can get to the core of this. This is getting out of control. Just wait, I'll show you, I'll show you. There's gonna be fruits of the labor. Once we get... I'll throw this back into Keyshot. What was it? Oh, right, yes. The fun mesh splat. Let me do mesh. Let's do a higher resolution, lower smoothness. Let me do it on top of this one, actually. I still have, yeah, my subdies. Do it on top of here. Subdies. Take some of this, make some more holes in here. If you turn on, what's it called? Sculptures Pro mode and then you shift, you can actually create new geometry or get rid of geometry by smoothing things out. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is just kind of getting some of this a little bit more like nasty splatty. So also what I just used there to get all of this is mesh splat. You can get that as a masking tool. If you hold control, you can go in and find it in your masking tools. Oh, too much. Push this in just a bit more. A little flatter. Okay, and then we turn that back on. I'm gonna quickly save, and then I'll throw it over to Keyshot to just quickly see what that looks like. All right, what's up? Hey, AVBN, what's good? Animated like a blob on the inside. Yeah, like it's like moving around, all like a matrix almost. Had to render. Now there's Keyshot. You don't need to get Keyshot. There's so many other renders that you can do the same thing with it. What did I just do? Mesh splat. Let me just throw this over to Keyshot. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. I can get this on here. Okay, so this is weird. Can I scale it? Transform. Isn't there like a way to just I don't know how to use this new OBS. It's so stupid. Okay. All right, whatever. All right, we'll just do it like you. I'll just make sure to like do it like I have 2K monitors and I still don't. It's a little bit weird with ZBrush, or not ZBrush, OBS. So I'll just make sure that it's like up here so you can see what I'm doing. So let's get glass. Again, I'll throw that over here. Aha! 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 So it's also grabbing the one underneath. If that happens, we can turn that off and then grab that other mesh. Right here. And then you can go over, I don't know if you can't see this, okay. So then you can basically just go into the properties and then unlink materials. You can start changing that specifically to something else, like a different color. Glass if you wanted to. We'll just do that for now just to see what things are looking like. And then the underneath, we can go with a, see, a scattering, no. It's gonna be in there, no. The skin textures, where is it at? Translucent. There we go. Banded. We'll go with like a 10mm and probably 100mm for this one. And then we'll just like adjust it. It doesn't really matter too much. Change the color for now to a white so that we can get an idea of what it is that we're doing. Turn this guy back on. By the way, if you're doing anything with a glass shader, you're gonna want to make sure that you have your caustics enabled as well, because sometimes you end up getting like completely black like this. Might just be we don't have the render available, but yeah, you start to get like an idea of what that's going to start to look like. Where's my camera? Okay, spotlight, move this around. A little bit dark in there, so we're gonna have to help it out. I think too, this is kind of like bugging out right now. You can see like even here, my yeah, it's a little bit bugged out right now. So I'm not gonna do too much in this right now because I'm getting a little bit of like a weird buggy thing going on. I think it's like when I'm using OBS, this has happened before. Materials aren't working as I have them set up to. So I'm not gonna get too far into that, but the idea is there where you just jump back and forth from ZBrush to Keyshot. I'll just leave that as this for now, just so you can see what's going on. And I'll get back to actually sculpting. We're in Grossville, yes we are. Any ears? I don't know about ears, man. I don't know where the ears would be. Air exhaust, yeah. Unreal, I am using a Cintiq 22 HD. So it's not the new ones, it's the older generation. In your opinion, would you say the sculpting with the clay brush on a higher intensity and smoothing is better, or lower intensity and building up little by little? I would say it depends on you yourself, what works for you. But in general, if you're working earlier on and you're working for, you know, trying to get your silhouette right, I would work at a lower resolution. When you're handling, you know, more detailed stuff and you're starting to get in your muscles and secondary forms and things, you can start upping your resolution. But overall, it is better to work low res as long as possible. I would not rely on the smooth brush, right? Like, your smoothing is more of a, like, in my opinion, the smooth brush is there as like an eraser. And so if you think about it, the way that you would do it on paper is you would start drawing with a pencil and then making your outlines harder and harder the more you're committed to something. So if you think about higher resolution as that harder pencil, and you're working higher resolution, you know, it's going to be harder to erase things because you're pushing harder with your pencil. It's the same idea. So only get to that stage when you're ready to push hard with your pencil and make that outline is kind of the idea, right? Your smooth brush is not there as a crutch to fix your problems in terms of the silhouette and things like that. You want to keep it low res. Because an eraser, right, like that's not gonna, you know, make your drawing all of a sudden better. You're still gonna have to keep going in with like your, you know, your lines over and over again. It's the same idea. A long open rib cage with bones. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of like rib cage bone type things lately. Very satisfying. Probably going to put I don't want to put eyelashes on this thing. I feel like that would be weird, like in a good way. Sorry for the long questions. What? So when character modeling, say specifically sculpting the face, should you focus on building volume or shaping with the move brush and dynameshing to get the right silhouette? Should I focus on building the volume or shaping with the move brush and dynameshing? Yeah, so when you're doing it basically, like, when you're first starting out, you're going to want to make sure that you're using low resolution and working on those volumes. You want to make sure that your base is exactly what you want it to be, like shape-wise, so that when you start adding more resolution afterwards, you're not going to end up with lumpy forms. The idea is to have a strong foundation so that you can keep adding more information later, and it will only make it better. So right off the bat, I would say Dynameshing. If you're going to Dynamesh, keep it low resolution. Don't have it where, you know, like what I'm doing right here. Like, don't have it more than something like that when you're first starting out. You don't want to like bog yourself down with too much freedom to just kind of put in skin detailing and things like that, and take away from the overall form that you're trying to achieve. Same with, like, you know, you can even work with something a little bit more low res here. Sorry, I'm just saving real quick. Like, starting off with a face, I would work with a really large brush. This is me personally, right? So sometimes I just kind of get in there and start cutting things down, like so. Grab. Just do like an overall sort of idea of where the jaw, everything is going to be placed. I don't go really high resolution or anything like that. I keep it low res because, you know, you're just gonna have like a struggle fest if you do anything else. And you can just kind of like build up from there, depending, of course, you know, what your character is going to look like, and then just kind of like keep working based on this sort of an idea. Block out where the eye is going to be, where the, you know, where's the nose bridge, all of that. Yeah, maybe he's gonna less of that, I don't know. Forehead needs to come out more. Back of the head looking weird. Smooth that out. And sometimes I like to just grab like an overall shape, because I don't really care at this stage at all. It's just about getting the bone structure. Make sure you're going back and forth from different angles, right? Jaw. You don't need a lot of, like, you really don't need a lot of geometry when you first start out, right? Because you can get your overall shapes this way, and then once you start, you know, you're liking how things are going, then from there you can start adding geometry and fleshing it out from that, right? Yeah, I just, like, when I first start, like, I really don't care, so I'm gonna like clip things as much as I want just to kind of get the overall shape. Also, another thing too is work, if you're doing anything face related, human related, work with perspective on, maybe even like an 80 will help you to get like a better idea of what it is that you're doing. And you can kind of work from there. And I find too, when you're doing like heads, you're gonna want to get the ear in there, will help you a lot as well. Some people start off with an oval. I like my my squares. Starting off with like cubes and things like that. I don't know why, just do. Figure. Pull out this. He doesn't have a concave skull. Skulls usually go back pretty like straight on the top like that, and then it rounds off at the back here. And now you can say, okay, let's say I'm happy with that. You can Dynamesh a little bit, try and start like working in more of what you want. You start getting like, you know, your eyeballs, put your eyeballs in there. How big the eyeball is in comparison to the head depends on like, you know, your stylization and things like that. You can do something fairly realistic. So that'll be that, weird and weld. A little bit spaced out sideways, but that's okay. And you just kind of keep pushing out the sun shapes. Always wanting to make sure that you're checking every angle while you're doing this stuff as well. Okay. And at this stage, I probably wouldn't do too much in terms of eyelids. As you can see, things are a little bit like wonky, but I would kind of like get the overall idea of that in there. Kind of a nose shape do I want? I don't know. I'm just kind of like doing a default head right now. Ears are too high up, down. Has a high cheekbone. More cheek muscle in there. Right, so that's essentially like how I would keep doing it, and then, okay, now we're ready for some more information. Dynamesh at a higher resolution, start getting in more detail, right? This is kind of like hacky. This is not like the best like face or anything like that, but you get the idea from what I'm doing here. Yeah. Anyways, and then you just kind of keep going and going and going, right? Yeah, I'll just keep that there for example anyways. Back to fun. The head? No, it's not that good. Honestly, you just need to make sure that you're working with your planes. You know, spin around, do a whole bunch of flipperinos on your work. How often do I break the standard rules of 3D sculpting? A lot. A lot. I like to break things a lot. I enjoy breaking things, but I would recommend doing things based on the rules first, so that you understand the rules and how to break them. Because when you understand the rules, then you understand, like, you know, what you can and can't do to break things, right? Oh, sorry. Rule number 1: we don't talk about rules. That's actually very true. Bobbles, we don't know this. Not true. We like rules. Rules are good, but sometimes when you're doing stuff for yourself, it's also very fun to break rules. Is it a carnivore? I think it's just weird. Honestly, I think it's just like a weirdo. I don't think it eats. I think it just exists to be weird. There's always the extra limbs. I'm so predictable. Just so predictable. How do you go about coming up with designs and concepting in ZBrush? You feel like you have no imagination. It's a practiced skill. So the more that you just kind of let yourself have fun and just, you know, try to sketch around, the more things will start to come to you. One way that you can practice this is by not having a bunch of references up. Of course, you know, if you are going to be doing something for production, or you want to do something for your portfolio, you want to do studies, etc., you're going to want to have reference. However, if you're wanting to practice just kind of being a little bit less tight about things, less restricted, then you want to maybe try not having references up. This is the only time that I would recommend that. And just playing around with shapes. So pull your sphere around, like the default sphere, into some random shapes and look at it for a second. Think about it like cloud watching. You know, you look at like a cloud, or you look at like the little stubbles on the top of your ceiling and you start seeing like images in there. Do the same thing with your sphere in ZBrush. Try and find something that might exist in that randomness that you just created, and then start working from there. And if an idea pops up, try and lean into it. If it's not working that well, if you're getting frustrated with it, start a new one. There's no harm in starting a new one. The idea of concepting is not to get married to an idea, but to iterate very quickly, right? And just move from idea to idea and expand on each idea that comes up. If it works, then you keep going and going and going from there. So I would recommend that, is just like work with very simple shapes and allow yourself to just kind of feel it, really. And if something is working, like let's say you like a design that you're doing and it resembles something more bird-like, you can start getting references of birds afterwards to then help design what it is that you're doing, right? So a concept is the idea phase, and then the design is making it work and functional and grounded, etc. Fleshing it out is design. So there's 2 steps. You can break them into 2 if it works better for you. I don't actually have a 3D printer, so I don't 3D print my stuff. I get asked that a lot. I feel like I'm disappointing when I say I don't. The Dianoga? What's that? What is that? Oh, it's like a sarlacc thing? Oh, but it hides in the toilets? It's a toilet sarlacc? What is a Dianoga? Is this like a toilet sarlacc from like what I see? Weird. Okay. Maybe it doesn't eat. Maybe it exists in a weird world where they don't have to eat. Honestly, this thing is just more of like a nightmare fuel type creature, I think. Like a dreamscape creature than one that would actually exist. So I'm not thinking about how it's gonna eat. Maybe it just feeds on your fears. Or maybe that's not a horn. Maybe... Maybe it is a tube, and it drinks from your eyeballs. Yeah, wait a bit and it'll have a Slurpee too. Like last week. Oh my god. Sorry, Taoist. My bad. My apologies. It's in the trash compactor of the Death Star? That thing is? The thing that you told... The Dianoga... See, I don't know my Star Wars lore. I apologize for not being nerdy enough in terms of Star Wars. It's a very large universe. Absol from Poke... It kind of does! Yeah, you're right. Have I ever thought about doing my own renditions of creatures from favorite shows series? Yeah, I've done like my own versions of like Pokemon or whatever. Like I've never been like super fond of them because I never like actually fleshed them out. Maybe maybe I will do more of that stuff in the future. We'll see. Proboscis gang! Proboscis gang, dude! Hey Blitz, what's up? Yes, Starship Troopers, always Starship Troopers. What am I gonna do? We could use, actually, because we're doing a lot of like deer-like anatomy. I'll grab my horse. My horse! Look at that. Good to have some... Now that we have an idea, we can start grabbing like references as we need them and start working like that as a horse. Horse anatomy, but also deer anatomy. Just to make sure these back legs look right. Making you hungry? You would eat this? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? How would you eat this? That in a sec. It's just because you're hungry doesn't mean you gotta eat something like this, bro. I don't know. You'd have to be like, I don't know what levels of hungry you'd have to be to eat some. Try to eat something like this. It's just like another level of disgusting. Personally, would not. Yep, mammals have very similar structure. There is enough of a difference between, you know, placement and everything that I would recommend looking at animals, an animal anatomy in comparison to human anatomy. Like, I wouldn't just like grab a human and then be like, yeah, with this human anatomy, I can accurately do horse legs or something like that. Like, it all kind of has the same idea, right? But there's enough going on there placement wise that's different that I strongly recommend grabbing different anatomy sources. Dude, go and eat something. What the frig? I don't think I like the idea of eating horse meat. That's weird to me. But to each their own, I suppose. Hey Farrak, what's up? Welcome, welcome. I'll just grab this, pull it over top anyways. It's right here. Hi Romkin, how are you? Woo. The nom 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 can be seen frolicking in the occasional nightmare. Ah, there's the backstory. Beautiful. Beautiful backstory. That booty be a little bit thin. What's up, Haz? Doing? Yeah, thanks. Am I happy with my model right now? It's all right. It's all right. I'm not mad at it, but I'm, you know, it's all right. Passing through 3D streams. Well, welcome. Welcome during your passing. Inspiration from gazelle? Yeah, I'd say gazelle, deer type thing, for sure. Imagine the hunter's surprise. Would not be happy with this one, for sure. I think probably a little bit on the concerned side. At least I would be. You use the snake hook as a move tool. Yes, I do. It's a lot faster for me to move things than the move tool itself. Okay. Do I use Sculptress in my workflow? Occasionally, yes. I use it for very particular things. Usually when I'm blocking out and sculpting, I don't necessarily use it. But if I am doing something more along the lines of fixing things or like specific appendages after the fact, like let's say I'm working really high res and I gotta make like some kind of a change, I'll use Sculptress for that. If I need to you know, get rid of a certain geometry, Sculptress Pro, when you smooth using Sculptress Pro at a low resolution, it will actually delete geometry and create holes. I use it that way as well. Can I see your comments? Yes, sorry. The way you set up your silhouette thumbnail is dope. I didn't know you have a transparent. Yes, so if you go into your preferences and you click on thumbnail, you can set background color to black. And after you set it to black, it will be a transparent background with a white silhouette. It's much easier to use. And then you can clearly see anything up there. Like if you want to change proportions or whatever, it's easier to see it up there. Doing 3D basics, sculpting is too difficult for you right now. You'll do a sculpt practice with your friends soon. Yeah, for sure. When you're first starting out with sculpting, keep, you know, like I think the biggest thing is to just find something that you think is really fun, but not too complicated. You know, you want to give yourself that win right off the bat so you don't get discouraged. So don't do like your favorite character or something right off the bat. I don't recommend you start with your favorite character. Keep that until later down the line when you have more experience under your belt, so you don't get like kind of discouraged and you have something to look forward to tackling in the future as well. So Shane, that's a tip from Shane Olsen, actually. I heard him talking about that in one of his streams. I was like, yeah, I agree with that. Don't start with your favorite character right off the bat. You'll want to think maybe, you know, pick a prop or some, you know, really simple character that you can think about. Something not your favorite. Chibi, like, is Chibi an artist, or are you talking about like a Shiba dog or something like that? The little characters. Oh, Chibi. Got you. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. Back. What does it gain that the move tool doesn't? The snake hook? So basically you can move things faster and without stopping. So let's take this for example. Snake hook will grab the move brush as well right here. So if you use move, I'll turn the polyframe on so you can see better. Move pulls everything very, very evenly. So the fall off is exactly the same throughout it. There's not really a change there. And then once it gets to a certain point, it stops. As you can see, it won't pull any further from a certain point. So things are very methodic when you're pulling with the move brush. However, if you were to use the snake hook brush, you can see things fall off exponentially and you can keep going, right? So that's why I like to use snake hook, because I don't care about a clean mesh. I would rather just have the ability to keep pushing and pulling and making all kinds of crazy things and dynameshing afterwards, after the fact, to clean things up. That's the reason why. Yeah. Oh right, I said I was gonna give this like eyelashes or whatever. Let me see. Fiber mesh. There's you. Too many. Where is the twist? Let's turn the twist down. Move lags when Geo is too dense? I did not know that. If you're having issues with that though, you might want to try switching over your model to subdivs so that, you know, when you're moving it around, it'll dynamically change to a lower subdiv so you're not having so much issues, so many issues. It does. This is one big eyeball. You can't see. I have the lens turned off right now, but this is one large eye that is really like nasty on the inside. That's yeah. Yeah, mono eye. What was I doing? Where is fiber mesh? Alright, see you, Rumkin. Thank you so much for stopping by. Good to see you. Have a good sleep, good evening. Let me just quickly skip that. Okay, let's do this one. I think maybe the coverage is too much. Needs to be thinner. Too much. This coverage. Go. Scale tip. Go. And we'll do some more segments so it has a little bit more of like a realistic thing going on. Gravity. Actually, do we want it like curling upwards? Maybe not that much. And give it like a little bit more length. I'll do it on the bottom as well. Twist, turn that down, turn the revolve down. Slim coverage, length variations. Go. Few more segments. Oh. Direction variation. Just a little bit. Oh, whoa! Whoa! Grungy. Just a little bit. I don't want too much. Okay, I'll have to groom this afterwards. I would eat the neck, but not the head. This? You'd eat the worm part. You would eat the worm. You're a worm eater. I mean, okay. I'm not gonna judge. I won't judge. I won't judge. It's fine. If you like worms, you like worms. That's cool. That's fine. Okay. Accept that. Eyelashes. I like saving out these preferences in case I want to like put them around in other areas. It's okay, I'll judge. You can judge for me. go. Okay. Now I'm just gonna grab both of these guys. I'm gonna duplicate that. Go over to brush, auto masking. Auto masking right here. Auto mask mesh insert, fiber mesh rather. Turn that off. Now I can that like so. Okay, I'm gonna turn that back on. Mesh. Ah, it's not there. Okay. Fine. I'll make these ones smaller, I think. Wow, so beautiful. You'd eat a snake, but you wouldn't eat a worm. Well, I mean, they're two very different things. I would argue they're two very different things. Actually, I think snakes are super cool. Not saying I would eat a snake either, I'm just saying they're super cool. Now that you have a complete revelation, you wouldn't eat any part of that creature. I am so happy you've come to this conclusion. Just save real quick. I'm gonna discard that. And I'll try the key shot thing again. Try getting it open again and working. If it messes up though, whatever. But I'll try it one more time. Like with a new scene, rather. Let's see if maybe screen will work. Whoops. Like, I'll bring it down onto... Woo! Come on. Come on. Yeah. There we go. There. Now it's in there. Yay! Okay. Put this over here. Alright, starting this over again. So like I said before, at the beginning of the stream, like when you're bringing things into Keyshot from ZBrush, sometimes your scale can be off, so you can change like the size of your environment here. No problem. Okay, let me grab a glass. We'll do this one. Perfect. Okay, because that is a basic that is not working. I need it to. There it is. There's the nasty I was looking for. Yeah. Good, 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 good. Then go over to a translucent. Let's click that. The mesh splat. Yeah, exactly. A lot of fun working with it that way. So I'll grab like a translucent. What is this one? Yep, that's fine. Put it on here. I would have to do all like the veins and stuff like that for the eye. You know, I would probably do like a little poly paint for it and stuff, but in the meantime, that's what it is. Let's go and find like a... Oh, no. And I would, you know, after messing with all of this stuff, I would start making like alternative materials and things. I'm just kind of like dragging stuff on for the time being, just to give an idea of what it is that I'm working with right now. Let's get all of the nasties in there. So then we have a translucent underneath that. That might actually cause some issues if you're not rendering, if I'm not rendering like outside of the viewport, so I'm not going to use that right now. I'm going to use, just for visualization purposes, I'll use a matte. There we go. That'll probably show up fine. Okay. Where's that matte white? Turn that down just a bit. And then if I were to grab, like, I don't know, a skin, like, there's a couple of different skin textures that I, like, messed around with myself, but these are kind of like the default ones that come with Keyshot. They're fun to play with, for sure. You can grab translucency and just, like, pump it as well if you really wanted to. It's something disgusting. The translucency, though, it really depends on like how big your thing is in the scene, but I don't have it accurate right now, so it's gonna look a little bit wonky. Wonkadoodles. That's okay. And obviously, if all of this in here was actually poly painted the way that I wanted it to be, you could start getting some like really cool, cool looking like nasties in here as well, but we're just working with it this way right now. Let's see. Okay, and so then you can grab another environment. We'll go and try something. Here we go. And add like a light just to check where it'd be like behind. Add light. Yeah, there you are. Spotlight. All right, I'll see you, Rod. Have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. Then if we were to even push this to like, I don't know, like ungodly levels, and like throw the, I love like really playing around with the subsurface, making it pretty like broken, just for render's sake. And then yeah, so now we're gonna get like the blue showing up because it's busted SSS. But then in certain areas you get like the reds, and then you get the greens as well showing through on like the really bright brights. And then if you were to turn the brightness of the actual HDRI all the way down so that the spotlight is the main thing, you start getting like a lot of drama. Yep. And then we'll play around with the interior eye. That more bright. Get some interesting looking things there, and then you can start, you know, you can see how this in itself can be a really fun base to start painting on top of. That's usually like what I like to do, is create that fun base to play around with. Something that I really like, and Monty's eye does this as well, my dog's eye, is the refraction ends up being the brightest. Like the brightest point is actually the furthest away from the light source, which is what you can kind of see is happening right here, because the light source is on this side. It like refracts all the way to the other side. It's really cool. And then this whole area would be really bright. And in the paint over as well, I would try to accentuate that too. So that's that. So that's working. Here, I'll show you another thing that I am like setting up right now for a open. Let me see. So another thing here, I'll give you an idea of what it is that I do illustration wise as well. This one will take a second to open, and then I'll jump back to it. And so you can see that like I'm halfway through the sculpting process, but I'm sending it over to Keyshot multiple times, right? So you can see that I'm like halfway through, like I've just got everything kind of like laid out, right? But this is sort of what I would do for illustration, is I base I use my sculpts as a way to create layout, and then I'll sculpt as much as I need to detail-wise within that specific camera angle that I figured out, and then I'll start painting over top of that afterwards. And I can kind of get some really cool images pretty quickly based off of that, and it's very flexible if I ever wanted to change angles or anything like that, right? So this is an idea of like a really early version of an illustration that I just didn't finish. This is at that early stage that I can kind of show you. Like I'm just starting to figure out the lighting and the overall cinematics of it, right? But unfortunately, most of like my illustration work and viz dev work and all of that kind of stuff, I can't show because it's all under NDA, right? So I can only kind of give you guys an idea of how it works. Yeah, that's one of the stronger theories of snakes, is that they lost their legs because it was just, you know, they were moving more of like this, and eventually it was faster for them and more efficient, and they stopped using their legs. So it's just like evolution just happens in a way of whatever is more efficient for that creature to survive. Occasionally I will use Blender, yes, Indy. Not for sculpting though, that's for sure. Yes, eyes with humans does work as well, yes. Yes, yes, yes. The light source is to the right. I should think about the light refract in the left. If it comes down to you rendering something, you can play around with your light sources to see how it's going to refract. I think that would be the smartest way to figure out what it is that you want to do, because it's sort of a you want to kind of like paint with light to try and figure out how to draw the attention to where you want it to be drawn to the best, and that way will be by moving your light source around and figuring out how it's going to hit highlights and draw you into the picture more. And so refraction can happen on the opposite side, and bounce light also kind of comes into play as well, because anything that's coming off of the eye is bright enough, if you've got that blasted enough, it'll also reflect onto the other side of the face too. There's a lot of like bounce light that can happen in that sense, and I really enjoy bounce light when it comes to reflective surfaces. It's very nice, very nice stuff. All right. Yeah, I would just honestly move things around, and figure, like, learn by trial by fire is how I do it. Wondering, should I like totally bust these? Nah. Nah, I won't. Bring it back. Yeah, exactly. Art, cozy rather. Yeah, that's exactly how I do things. Is I will get my hands on things and figure it out. You know, see how things react, and then if I have questions about it, I'll look it up after. Like the exact like science of refraction. If my hair gets caught in the headphone, starts pulling. Okay. Yeah, he's moving quick to come and suck your eyeballs out. I wanted to give this more. Yep. So we can do standard. Where are you? Standard brush. We can do here. Make all of this more uneven. Kind of looks like, you know, to give it like the hair follicle type feeling. Here. Cloth brushes for wrinkles. I actually don't use a lot of the cloth brushes. I use them if I'm like experimenting with stuff or playing around, but I like the default stuff. Honestly, when I'm dealing with like wrinkles, Damien Standard at a high, so use Damien Standard, a large brush, turn the Z intensity down, you can get very like pillowy forms, right? And then from there, you know, you can also chunk this up even more, go down more, and then create like finer lines for finer wrinkles, and then grab your inflate brush and just kind of start working from there as well, and then just kind of like soften everything. So that's usually how I go about that. I don't usually use the cloth brushes, but if you find that they're easier and they help you out, then go for it. Ever makes it easier for you. Yes. Yes, they are fiber mesh eyelashes. Gravity with standard brush works well for wrinkles. Yeah, I mean, if that works for you, then get it. Gonna tell you about it. Oh my god. Okay. The Geico car insurance. How did I make the eye socket perfectly round? To fit the eye, I feel so weird you were to do that. It looked like some drunk guy did it. You just kind of gotta do some masking, right? Keep the lens visible and then mask around it, and just kind of like right where the geometry is intersecting with the eyelid, like with the eye lens rather, take the eyelid and then make like a divot here so that it kind of keeps coming inwards and then has a soft shelf. And then that will give you that feeling of like it's 3D. Like that's the idea. It's 3D, it's fitting over top of something. You never want like an intersection to be happening because you kind of end up with something that looks incredibly CG. I mean, this looks CG, but you know what I hopefully you know what I mean. Like, it looks harsh. It doesn't look like it could be more naturalistic. Looks delicious. Slurp worthy. Hey Scott, how are you? Well, Doom, I hope that you enjoy it anyways. Yeah, there's an interpolate. If you want to use interpolate, that's up to you. Personally, I don't always use it in my workflow though, because it does speed things up, but being able to kind of like sketch in things really non-uniformly as well kind of adds to that, like, I don't know, it's like natural handmade kind of feeling. So if I had to get something done really fast though, for sure. Hi, Max. Thanks. Thanks. I used to be more blonde like years ago. Pandemic hit and I stopped getting my hair done. Only recently went out and got my hair done again. Definitely a boop, not a flea. Hey, I mean, you're gonna find what you think is cute, right? I'm not here to judge you. A Monty hug before I sign off? Of course! Of course. We are sculpting some sort of a gross eyeball deer thing. Some kind of a nasty, gross eyeball deer. Some kind. Some kind. Nah. Nah, don't be inappropriate. Come on now. This isn't anything like that. No, not on the official Maxon ZBrush stream. Not me. I would never. I would never do that. No sirree. I am a prude. Nudity, genitalia is not my thing. No, sir. Never. That's not me. Try. Is it here? Yeah. Contrast. Target. See if we can just like. Yeah, there we go. Why does it look like my lips are not moving when I say that? Sometimes I guess it's just the way that I speak. I don't use my mouth too much when I speak sometimes. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a hologram. I'm not really real. The unicorn. Maybe I am a ventriloquist. Oh, my back. Oh. I'm getting old, boys. Oh. Do I stream much on my personal channel? No. No, I don't. I do not. I wish that I could, but it ends up being like the only time that I have is pretty late at night because my partner Eric, he's a lead now at Behavior, so he's in meetings all the time. So I don't really want to be super loud on stream and screaming about buttholes while he's in, like, you know, a producer meeting or something like that. It's probably not, you know, it's just, you know, right? So, so they have time like really late at night, and or these streams, which usually overlaps with him working anyways, so. Yeah, he's a lead character artist. Thanks, Binge. If I watch the new no, I'm not. The new Halo TV show, it's not for me. Not for me. I'm a big Halo fan, and I can't. I wish I could, but I can't with the new Halo TV show. I appreciate all the work that went into it from like my fellow artists, like that I know that actually worked on it. They did a great job, but the writing, just the decisions that were made. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of like, it's kind of rough, right? Like if I don't know what it is about filmmakers and thinking that like video games as like a source material is so icky for some reason. Because like with Halo, right? the showrunners were like, yeah, no, we didn't play the games, we didn't reference the games. But we did read the books. I'm like, okay, but you guys realize, right? You guys realize that the books are there to supplement the games, not the other way around. It's frustrating to see that, and then they're all like backtracking and being like, no, it's like the silver timeline, it's not actually, you know, canon or anything. I'm like, okay, fine, sure, but why would you do that? Like, you could, I don't know, in my opinion, like, they could have easily started from pre-Reach and ended the first season at Reach, where you would be super freaking excited about like episode or season 2 starting, where season 2 would be basically where CE picks off. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. I don't know. What they ended up doing, in my opinion, is just odd. And I've got gripes with the suits. Like, they're well made, right? The suits in the TV show, but it just feels weird with the CG mix. Something feels super, super off with like the movements. Like, it feels too light on them. And then sometimes it, like, there's some really cool action scenes, then all of a sudden it'll go back to like they're walking like penguins or something. And then something that, like, it's a small minor thing, but I'm like, I'm a little bit like annoying when it comes to this kind of stuff with Halo, because I like it too much. So I saw like Chief jump out of the Pelican in one of the trailers. His suit doesn't have any treads on the boots. It's literally like a Minecraft suit. And yeah. There are some like cool scenes in there though, so I'll give them that. But it just doesn't it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel as good as it could have been for the budget that they put into it. In my opinion, I am not wowed by the show. Personally. But other people might be, right? Like, if you're not like a lore whore like I am for Halo, then you might actually really like it. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to be gentle about it, right? Because I know artists that have worked on it, and like, they're phenomenal artists and they did a great job for the things that they did, but as a whole, I feel like decisions overall that were made in that show probably could have gone, you know, differently. Samus or Master Chief? Master Chief, I'm sorry. Master Chief, I'm sorry. I can't. No references. No references. We're just having fun sketching. But okay, like, something... This is... For for the Halo show, they did a face reveal in like the first like bit of the season, right? And I feel like that is weird to do for Halo, considering the people around him, specifically Cortana, the AI, the machine, is supposed to be Chief's human aspect. You're supposed to have that like contrast there where you don't see Chief's face. He could be literally anyone, but he's also like no one at the same time. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a face there, so you can't give it that like human aspect. You can't give him that human aspect that comes through in the characters around him, especially Cortana. And so the fact that they did that, it just doesn't, it feels so generic. It just doesn't feel like a good decision. It doesn't feel like Halo. I don't know. A tomato hornworm. Yeah. Oh, dude, tomato worms, the tomato bugs. Oh, I had so many of those in the garden when I was growing up. They are disgusting. The poop that they make, it's bright green. Bright green sludge comes out of those things. Remember Monty... What? Imposer? Wait, what are you talking about? The physiology of this creature continues to raise questions. I want to know how high this thing can jump full gallop. Dude, yeah. Tomato hornworms. Pretty good, dude. That's some good stuff right there. With blacklight flashlight, I wouldn't be surprised. Those things are like weirdly fluorescent. Like it's actually creepy. Hold on. Let me see. If... Yeah, these things, they were all over my garden. They're like, yeah, tomato hornworm, they're disgusting. And when you when you collect them, like, so I was a kid, I was dumb, I didn't know any better, regrets, but sometimes I would collect, I would put them in a jar and I would put like, you know, the tomato leaves in there with them or whatever, just to like have it as a pet. I would come back in the morning and it's just the poo. The tomato hornworm poo. I can't stress this enough. It is the most disgusting fluorescent thing you've ever seen in your life. Yo, what's up, Sim? You think Keyshot is a must-have to make renders from ZBrush, or is the BPR with it? Oh yeah, no, you do not need to have Keyshot. You do not need that. You can use the BPR in ZBrush for sure. You can even use Blender Cycles is viable. The only thing that's good about ZBrush with Keyshot is the bridge, right? But that costs money. So if you don't have the money, then just make a an export folder, export your decimated sculpts, and then you can bring it into Blender, you know, for a cycles render if you want to set up that entire render process. Otherwise, rendering within ZBrush, you can get something pretty nice out of. Actually, I think, again, bringing up Pablo, he has some good information about rendering within ZBrush. Dude, the tomato hornworms are so nasty. Hold on, tomato hornworm. This is a very frequently looked up thing, okay? It auto-filled for me. This is very frequently looked up on Google. Tomato hornworm poop, okay? It's not just me. Like, people look that up. Are we making a weird core character? This is not ZBrush core, if that's what you mean, but yeah, we're just making a whatever weirdo kind of thing. All right, what do I want to do for the last 15 minutes? Hey Alex, guess I'll do some more wrinkles. They're not, though. I'm telling you, they look cute from afar. If you handled them, I'm telling you. I'm warning you. Wait, actually, why don't I do a lazy step? No, that's not gonna work. That is not going to work. Never mind. Just do it like this, it's fine. Down here. How do I make the silhouette transparent? Preferences, thumbnail, and then you make background black. The tiny feet. The tomato hornworm? Yeah. Yeah. They're cute until they start pooping, I'm telling you. Yeah, I've seen the tomato hornworm moths. They're the what's it called? Like the super chalky ones, right? Ugh. Looking at these things, man, it's just like bringing back like memories of my childhood collecting these stupid tomato hornworms. There's so many in my garden. I had so many of the tomato plants, man. Oh my god. These big, thick booty dudes. The eyelashes make you feel like there's ants under your skin. Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Ants should not be under your skin. Don't look. It'll make you feel better. You feed them to lizards? Dude, they're so thick. And like they're just so thick. I want to do it like this. I don't know. My tired is starting to show through. Apologies. We're getting to the end here. Yeah, you like it? That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you like this thing. That's what I was saying. Unicorn. Unicorn. Real unicorn. You keep not being able to select brushes from Windows Explorer? What, inside of your Lightbox? Or like what? Like when you're doing like B and then load brush? Sherman. I could see him being named Sherman. Custom brushes from Windows usually double clicks and works, but often and lately it doesn't. ZBrush had a max brush limit or something. It might. It honestly might, yeah. I have not run into that issue personally, but if you're having like a lot of problems, ZBrush support is actually pretty good at getting back to people and helping them through things. So at least from my experience, they've been pretty good with me. So you can always like try opening like a ticket and just seeing like if they've ever heard of that issue before. Ow. Yeah, my hand has been hurting today. I think I've been playing too much Elden Ring, to be honest with you. The controller, the Xbox controller, is pretty big for my hands. And it's just been like, also not to mention the Elden Ring run. I've been running everywhere, so it's just been like, not good. A trypophobia monster? I think we're already there with his eyeball being like that. Very, holes. Anyways, I think that this is good enough for today. I am pretty tired, not gonna lie. So I'll set this guy up. I'll grab the Monties, who is also very tired and sleepy under my desk. Let's do a better... Here we go. Do that. Do this. Do this. What a beaut. Alrighty, let me grab my boy. My boy. My boy. Come. Come. Yes. My boy. Oh. And we'll do the outro together. Yes. He's so sleepy. He's like, why? Why did you wake me for this? Alright guys, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I know we were kind of slow and maybe I didn't answer everybody's questions, but if you do have any other questions or you want me to expand on something I didn't quite expand on properly during this stream, I know it was pretty kind of like a tired one. I was a little bit thrown off. But if you do want to ask anything, all of my socials are right here. Thank you. Right here. And you can DM me at any time and I'll do my best to answer you. I do want to help any way I can. I can send you to anybody that I might think would help you better, etc., etc. Follow ZBrush on whatever platform it is that you're watching, because other artists also stream here. They have different workflows, they have different ways of approaching things. They might be more of your cup of tea if I was not. You know, my ways doesn't really like work for everyone, right? So if, you know, my way doesn't work for you, maybe there's going to be somebody else on this channel that can help you in a way that clicks with you a little bit better. So definitely check out the other streamers here on this channel because they're very talented, very helpful people. And ZBrush, if you wanted to try it, if you liked what you saw today, there's a 30-day free trial. And if you If you wanted a free forever version as well, there's ZBrush Core Mini, which is just a super stripped down, easy to use version of ZBrush that just includes Sculptress Pro and nothing else. So you can also try that. Yeah. Here we go. Monty says bye. We'll see you next week. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. Good night. Yes, Baba. He's so tired. All right, guys. See